So what is a swing blueprint? A swing blueprint really starts with the type of shot you're trying to hit. Whether that's a low draw, high fade, whatever that is, you need to be able to look on the video and decipher what the issues are that are keeping you from having the contact or the curve that you want. So in front of you here on the video on the left, we have the before swing, and the video on the right, we have the after swing. And this is with a very good player about to head off to play college golf. And so the discussion with him, and he is a new client to me, was really talking about what are the problems that he sees consistently in his ball striking, not only on the driving range, but when he goes to the golf course. And for him, it was really over-curving the ball left, not making enough ground contact at times, seeing some heel strikes. So when we look at a blueprint, it's really about solving those things while also creating the swing that we want, whatever shot we want to hit. In his case, it's really just taking away those things, so making more ground contact, less heel strikes, and just less curve in general. So when I'm looking at a swing and evaluating a swing, not only am I looking at those things, but I'm also looking at the video. And one of the first things that I draw when I'm looking at the video is what I would call the impact plane. And so that's very easy to draw. All we're going to do is go to impact. We're going to draw a line up from the heel through the club shaft. You know, there's a lot of information, a lot of opinions on this, on what lines are most important. To me, this is the most important as far as club delivery. And so I would go back to the beginning here, and I would really start to look at what is the club doing in relation to this line as it relates to what he's talking about. So right off the bat, at this club position, like halfway back, we can see a couple things. So number one is the club is pretty far inside relative to that yellow line. Now, do you have to go, on that line? No, but the closer you are to that line, the more neutral you're probably going to swing. So if you're someone who's trying to hit it pretty straight, you're probably going to be on that line. And then the second thing is we can see that the club face is fairly closed. What we see with a lot of players, especially if they hit a straight shot to a slight fade, would be that at that position, the toe would be a little bit more up. So it gets a little bit concerning when I start to see that position with the club face. Now, as we continue to go up, we can see that the face is still pretty strong. We can tell that it's strong because at the top of the backswing, we can see that the face is kind of pointing to the camera. We can see a lot of the face. And we have this lead wrist that is really, really bowed. Now, I know that, you'll see a lot of things on social media about having a flex lead wrist. That works well if you have a weak grip, but if you're like this player and have a fairly strong grip, then most likely that's going to be too much face closure, and you're really going to struggle with overdraws. Okay, so part of the blueprint is identifying what the problems are from a form perspective. The other thing is it's not a very long swing, and one of the things that he did mention is wanting to hit a little bit further. And so as you're going to see in the after video, if we start to add some length by folding those wrists, that's probably going to clean up a lot of the issues that we have. And then as far as it relates with the overdraw and the heel, we can see that now the head has kind of tipped down a little bit, and then the club gets in this position, which is underneath that yellow line with the face slightly shut. And so most likely from here, we're going to hook the ball. We're going to hit it thin or fat, and then maybe we're going to heel it. So those are kind of all the things that consistently happen. Now, the thing is when you go to the range, you go to the course, you're going to see a majority of your shots be pretty good. It's really those, 4 to 6 really bad shots that lead to the difference between shooting, even par versus 76. So if we kind of play this out, the other thing to remember too is he's going to get to the yellow line. So if we look at how the club's going to move, think about it. It's going to have to move pretty far right to get to the yellow line, and then it's going to obviously stay above that line a little bit. So that's just a kind of a classic overdraw look. A lot of good players are in this. If you're someone who overdraws it, this probably is very much correlated with what you look like. So let's clean this up and switch over to the video on the right. And so this was after just a couple minutes of change. And, let's first draw that impact plane here. All right, so there's that. Whoops, that's not going to do it. Let's draw with a line. A line's going to be better than a circle. So up through the heel and through the trail elbow, generally up the shaft. Okay, so the one thing that I really encourage him to do was feel the face roll open. I feel like that's something I tell people a lot in the backswing that are shut. Is just I want you to focus on rolling the face open. So we can see at that position, the face is still a little bit strong. There might be a little bit of change there. I know you'll see some things about having the face match the spine on the backswing. I'm not necessarily saying that's right or wrong. In his case, given he doesn't want to hit it left, I wouldn't mind that face being a little bit more open. And you can also see now he's going up that line. That really wasn't something that we talked about. Just generally speaking, when someone gets the face shut, they usually roll the club head in as well. So, whenever you're trying to come up with a blueprint, you're trying to come up with what the swing needs to look like, but also how can I achieve that quickly? This doesn't need to be some rebuild that takes months and months and months, despite what you may, think or hear from coaches. And then as we continue the backswing up, you can see now this is really the difference. And I'm going to go back to the video on the left of like where the change is going to be. You can see that not only we added length to the backswing, but now the face is in a much, much different spot. And that was really through progressively rolling the face open through the backswing. And we can see at the top of the backswing, when you look at the wrist, it's perfectly flat and the club face is matching. At the end of the day, your lead wrist, your left wrist, if you're a right-handed golfer, is what controls the club face. And so as he's folding the wrist, it's also opening the face. And then the other thing is, like I said earlier, we're looking for some club head speed gains. If the club head is traveling further on the backswing, in most cases, not every case, but in most cases, you are going to hit the ball further. So if part of your blueprint is, I want to hit the ball further, then you need to look at the length of your swing. If you're only swinging, halfway back or 2/3 back, it's probably not going to go as far as it could. And at certain competitive levels, you need to be making sure you're reaching what we call like speed benchmarks. For example, with a 6-iron, if you want to play Division I golf, you probably need to be swinging your 6-iron 92 to 94 miles per hour at a minimum. So those are just kind of things that I'm looking at when we're coming up with the blueprint. Now, why the backswing is so important is because from this position, most likely he should be able to just swing down without a whole lot of thought and make better ground contact and not get too far inside. You can see now in that same position, like we had earlier, you saw that it was definitely underneath that line. We can see that the club is traveling in a much more neutral sense. There's the divot. The club is exiting on a better line. And so, when we're making a swing change, we need to have a blueprint that actually shows up on video as being different. It'd be one thing if he left the session and he's hitting it better, but like the video looks the same. Well, I would just argue that most likely those changes aren't going to last. He's just having a good day on the driving range. But if he shows up next session looking like the player on the right, not the one on the left, then most likely we're going to see some really big differences in contact, in curve, ground contact. And so it's really, really important that not only does the video match, but then the ball flight and everything like that starts to change. The club head speed goes up. So if you don't have a swing blueprint, start with writing down, like, what do I not like about my ball flight, my contact? Identify those things in your swing video that make sense as to why those are happening, and then come up with a plan of what you would change that would highly correlate with those things being different. And most likely they're going to look different on video. So hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please subscribe, drop a comment, and let me know what you thought of the video. And when you go to the range, definitely try to find that blueprint, and I guarantee you that's going to lead to some long-term results.